In the vast tapestry of human existence, pain is a thread that weaves its way through every life. It comes in various forms, physical, emotional, spiritual, and its presence can be overwhelming, threatening to engulf us in darkness. In moments of despair, when it feels like the weight of the world is too much to bear, it's easy to question whether anyone sees our pain, whether anyone hears our cry for relief. But amidst the chaos and confusion, there is a steadfast truth that shines like a beacon of hope: God sees your pain and hears your cry. This foundational belief is at the heart of Christian faith, offering solace and strength to those who are hurting. It is a reminder that we are never alone in our struggles, that there is a divine presence who walks beside us, offering comfort and compassion in our time of need. The Bible is replete with verses that attest to God's awareness of our suffering and His promise to deliver us from it. Psalm 34 verse 18 declares, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." These words offer reassurance that God is not distant or indifferent to our pain, but intimately acquainted with every tear we shed and every ache we feel. Moreover, God's concern for our well-being goes beyond mere observation. He is actively involved in our lives, working tirelessly to bring about redemption and restoration. Isaiah 43 verse 2 affirms this truth, proclaiming, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze." This powerful imagery illustrates God's unwavering commitment to His children, promising to shield them from harm and lead them safely through the storms of life. Yet, despite the assurance of God's presence and provision, waiting on Him can be one of the greatest challenges we face. In a culture that values instant gratification and quick fixes, the idea of patiently enduring hardship can seem counterintuitive. However, the Bible repeatedly emphasizes the importance of waiting on God and trusting in His perfect timing. Psalm 27 verse 14 encourages us to wait for the Lord. "Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." This admonition reminds us that waiting is not a passive act but an expression of faith, a conscious choice to surrender our desires to God's will and embrace His plan for our lives. It requires us to relinquish control and place our hope squarely in the hands of the One who holds the universe in His grasp. Moreover, waiting on God cultivates perseverance and deepens our relationship with Him. In the waiting, we learn to lean on His strength, to seek His guidance, and to draw near to Him in prayer. It is in these moments of waiting that our faith is refined, our character is shaped, and our trust in God is strengthened. The story of Joseph in the Old Testament provides a powerful example of the transformative power of waiting on God. Despite facing betrayal, slavery, and imprisonment, Joseph remained steadfast in his faith, trusting that God had a purpose for his suffering. In the fullness of time, God's plan was revealed, and Joseph emerged from his trials as a mighty ruler, instrumental in saving his family and preserving the nation of Israel. Likewise, we can take heart knowing that God is at work in our waiting, orchestrating His perfect plan for our lives. Romans 8 verse 28 assures us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Even in the midst of pain and uncertainty, we can rest in the knowledge that God is using every trial and tribulation to mold us into the image of Christ and bring about His kingdom purposes. So, if you find yourself in the midst of a season of waiting, take heart and be encouraged. God sees your pain and hears your cry. He is with you in the darkness, guiding you through the storm, and leading you into the light. Trust in His unfailing love, lean on His strength, and wait patiently for the fulfillment of his promises. For in the waiting, we find hope, and in God's perfect timing, we find redemption. Abraham waited years for the fulfillment of God's promise of a son, enduring doubt and disappointment along the way. Yet, in the appointed time, Isaac was born, bringing joy and fulfillment to Abraham and Sarah's lives. Likewise, Moses waited 40 years in the wilderness before God called him to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt. Despite his initial reluctance, Moses obeyed God's call, and through his leadership, God performed miraculous deeds and delivered his people to the promised land. David, too, experienced seasons of waiting as he fled from King Saul's relentless pursuit. In the wilderness, he penned psalms that echoed the depths of his soul, expressing raw emotions of fear, despair, and longing. Yet, amidst his struggles, David remained steadfast in his faith, trusting in God's faithfulness to sustain him through every trial. These biblical accounts serve as reminders that waiting on God is not a passive resignation but an active expression of faith. It requires us to surrender our timelines and expectations to His sovereign will, trusting that His plans are far greater than our own. It's a journey of surrendering control and embracing dependency on God, knowing that He alone holds the keys to our future. Moreover, waiting on God cultivates character traits such as patience, humility, and perseverance. It teaches us to resist the urge to take matters into our own hands and instead, to submit our desires to God's timing. It's a process of refinement, shaping us into vessels fit for the Master's use. But perhaps the most profound aspect of waiting on God is the intimacy it fosters in our relationship with Him. In the stillness of waiting, we learn to listen for His voice, to discern His leading, and to align our hearts with His purposes. It's in these moments of communion that we experience the depth of God's love and the richness of His presence. The journey of waiting on God is not easy, nor is it without its challenges. There will be moments of doubt, moments of despair, and moments of temptation to give up. But in those moments, we must hold fast to the promise that God sees our pain and hears our cry. He is a faithful God who will never leave us nor forsake us, and His timing is always perfect. So, as you navigate the seasons of waiting in your own life, take courage and be encouraged. God is with you every step of the way, guiding you, strengthening you, and preparing you for the fulfillment of His promises. Trust in His goodness, lean on His grace, and wait patiently for the dawn of a new day. For in the waiting, we find not only the fulfillment of our desires but the revelation of God Himself.